My theorist spotlight is on Nel Noddings. Nel Noddings was recognized early on in the 1980s. She began her research on moral philosophy and the importance of caring relationships in the classroom. Nel Noddings was born on January 19th of 1929. Here's some information on her journey through her education and what got her to where she is today, and how she started working on morals of education and ethics. Nel Noddings was married for 60 years. Her husband passed away in 2012. She was a mother of 10 children. She had many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She was a feminist and believed in, the role of the woman in the home, as well as the role of women as teachers and the base that's given in the home. She did earn many awards in her lifetime. She's still alive, but she's gotten many awards for teaching. And she's been a professor at Columbia, Colgate, Stanford, and also she today still does some interviews and things, but amazing. Noddings was a progressive educator. She followed a constructivist theory. She felt that care should be embedded into curriculum, and what I mean by that is she felt like the classroom goal for all teachers should be that there should be a caring relationship within the classroom to a point where it would almost be the culture of the classroom itself. She felt like this would be the place where her students would learn social and moral issues and would go out into the world and share those with others. She began her research aligned with Carol Gilligan in her writing on In a Different Voice. And basically what she believed is that it's a feminine perspective. Ethics are in the relationship to boys. There was a moral development that girls had, and they tended to be more compassionate than boys because boys had more of a justice-based decision-making process. In Noddings' first book, Caring, A Feminine Approach to Ethics and Moral Education, she focuses on the role of women in as being innately connected to behaviors and needs of others, that there's something that happens with women that is just a natural approach to care. And it goes back to the structure of the mother-child relationship. In the language of care ethics, Nodding writes about the caring relationship being either a natural care or an ethical care. And in a natural care, it's more of a care that happens naturally. It's an encounter, and it begins with a relationship. It's something that we just do, and the carer just naturally responds to the needs of someone that they perceive needs something. In ethical care, it is more of an obliged care, obligated care, coming from a position of power. It might also be considered something like virtuous care, meaning that, it makes the person who does the act feel like that's something important that they did. It's more about them doing the act than actually creating the act for someone else. The caring relation has a carer who gives the care and the cared for who receives the care. It's a communication type relationship. And when the caring relationship begins, the carer begins to establish the relationship, and then also the role is also to maintain it. Oftentimes a carer might feel this motivation to keep giving the care without understanding why. It's somewhat like displacement. They feel like they need to do this. Something is driving them to do this for the cared for. Another important piece to this is the response that the cared for gives to the carer. The cared for needs to receive the caring action and also needs to respond to that, accepting the caring relationship. So then that relationship is considered an established one. It's important that this reciprocity go on between this relationship for it to continue to be not just an established relationship, but one that continues to build. In Noddings' book, Educating Moral People, A Caring Alternative to Character Education, she looks at the differences between care and education versus care ethics. And the reason being is because there's been a concern, I believe, about moral values in school today and attitudes of young people, and what role should schools have in developing characteristics of students in the classroom. What I found to be interesting specifically in this book is in the later part 3, where she discusses the use of conversations in schools and stories. And the reason being is because today's generation they're not conversationalists, so to speak. They're very into technology, and so it's difficult to get them talking in the classroom today. What is important, though, is that we do those developmental conversations, such as seminars and formal conversations, teaching students how to have a conversation rather than a debate or argument. So I think that's what she's mostly trying to encourage in the classroom when she talks about educating moral people. Nodding believed in 4 components of care. In other words, how is this delivered, and what's the example in the classroom? How's this done? It's similar to how we teach a lesson. Modeling is the first component of care. She believed that you need to demonstrate to students what your expectations are for them. For example, possibly speaking in a whisper voice so that students understand it's time to lower their voices. Dialogue is when you affirm the other person's behaviors. For example, thank you for raising your hand. So that encourages that positive behavior in your classroom. Practice is when you continually do those things: modeling, dialogue, affirmations. And once you do those, then you finally will get to a point of mastery, and your classroom pretty much has a culture of care. A confirmation, that piece of the component would be more like, let's reflect on how this is working here, and do we need to tweak it? Do we need to do more, add more, take something away? Recognizing how it makes the classroom culture a positive place. Nel Noddings brought a lot of information into the classroom about care and how we can work in the classroom with that at different levels. Here are some of my resources for this very short presentation on Nel Noddings.